Good evening. This is the Sultanate of Oman television with the latest news bulletin. First, the headlines. The Sultanate of Oman welcomes the decision of the International Court of Justice regarding the case of genocide charges against Israel, calling to implement it and to immediately stop aggressive actions in the Palestinian territories. And the Russian president says that Russia is ready to halt the war in Ukraine with a negotiated ceasefire that recognizes the current battlefield lines. Good evening once again, and thank you for joining us. Those were the headlines, and now the news in detail. His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq sends a cabinet greetings to Her Excellency President Salom Zourabichvili of Georgia on her country's National Day. The Foreign Ministry issued a statement as follows. The Sultanate of Oman welcomed the decision of the International Court of Justice issued today in The Hague regarding the case of genocide charges against Israel, imposing additional emergency measures to immediately stop military operations in Rafah and allow humanitarian aid and investigative committees to enter the Gaza Strip. It called on the international community, especially the Security Council, to hold Israel to its responsibilities in accordance with international law and to implement the decision of the International Court of Justice to immediately stop aggressive actions in the Palestinian territories. The Palestinian death toll from ongoing Israeli attacks on the Gaza Strip has risen to 35,857. Gaza health authorities said in press statements that during the past 24 hours, the Israeli army killed 57 Palestinians with 93 more wounded, which brought the total injuries to 80,293 since the Palestinian-Israeli conflict broke out in October 2023, following the International Court of Justice ordering Israel to stop its military offensive in Rafah with immediate effect. Yesterday, Israel once again launched fierce airstrikes on Rafah. Aid access to Gaza Strip is extremely limited, with less than 1,000 truckloads of humanitarian assistance entering the enclave since May 7th, after Israel began a military operation in southern Gaza's Rafah area, and the United Nations said yesterday. The United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs said that between May 7th and May 23, only 906 truckloads entered the enclave of 2.3 million people, where a famine looms amid the war. The Rafah crossing from Egypt into Gaza has been closed since Israel began stepping up its military operation in the area, creating a backlog of aid in Egypt, where some of the food supplies have begun to rot. Russian President Vladimir Putin said that Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky had no legitimacy following the expiry of his 5-year term, and this would raise a legal obstacle if Russia and Ukraine were to resume peace talks. Putin is ready to halt the war in Ukraine with a negotiated ceasefire that recognizes the current battlefield lines. Putin's comments are likely to be taken by Ukraine and its Western allies as further evidence that he has no relentation of entering peace talks, despite frequently stating this willingness to negotiate. Zelensky has repeatedly said peace on Putin's terms is a non-starter. The United States announced a new $275 million package of weapons and equipment for Ukraine yesterday to help it repel Russia's assault near Kharkiv, the State Department said. The package contains urgently needed capabilities, including ammunition for HIMARS 155mm and 105mm artillery rounds, missiles, anti-armor systems, and precision aerial munitions, the department said. More than 300 people and over 1,100 houses were buried by massive landslides that leveled a remote village in northern Papua New Guinea. Hundreds are feared dead in the landslides that hit Korkalam village in Enga province, about 600 kilometers northwest of capital Port Moresby, around 3 a.m. yesterday. More than 6 villages had been impacted by the landslide in the province's Mulitaka region, Australia's Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade said today. Still to come in our news bulletin. Training workshop in Al-Buraimi discusses sustainability and job opportunities in geological heritage. Welcome back to the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. The total balance of credit granted by companies in the Omani banking sector increased by 2.9% by the end of last March, reaching 30.8 billion Omani riyals. The analysis issued by the Central Bank of Oman showed that with regard to credit granted to the private sector, it recorded a growth of 3.6% to reach 25.9 billion Omani riyals. Data related to its distribution among various sectors indicated that non-financial companies accounted for the largest share, which amounted to 45.5%, followed by the individual sector with 45%. Total deposits in the banking sector recorded a growth of 11.7%, reaching 30.3 billion Omani riyals. The inflation rate in the Sultanate of Oman increased last April by 0.4% compared to the same month in 2023. Data issued by the National Centers for Statistics and Information showed an increase in the prices of various personal goods and services by 4.2% and food and non-alcoholic beverages by 2.8%. On the other hand, the prices of transportation groups decreased by 3% and education by 0.4%. The North Sharqiya Governorate recorded the highest rate of increase in inflation as the index rose by 1.4%, while it rose by 1.3% in Al-Wusta Governorate and by 1.1% in the Dhafar Governorate. A training workshop in the Governorate of Buraimi discusses sustainability and job opportunities in geological heritage. The workshop was organized by the Minister of Heritage and Tourism at the branch of Oman Chamber of Commerce and Industry in the Governorate of Al-Buraimi, while coinciding with the International Museum Day. It aimed to shed light on the procedures and systems related to geological heritage, in addition to educate the job seekers about job opportunities and economic aspects. The workshop also focused on employment in the field of geological heritage, local expertise in this field, as well as the mechanisms of providing guidance services, among other topics. It also included field visits to a number of geological heritage sites in the Governorate. You're watching the Sultanate of Oman television, and to end this news bulletin, here are the main points once again. Sultanate of Oman welcomes the decision of the International Court of Justice regarding the case of genocide charges against Israel, calling to implement it and to immediately stop aggressive actions in the Palestinian territories. And the Russian president says that Russia is ready to halt the war in Ukraine with a negotiated ceasefire that recognizes the current battlefield lines. And with that, we do conclude this news bulletin brought to you live from this news center of the Sultanate of Oman television. This news has been directed by Fatima Al-Mashaykhia. From me, Abdullah bin Ahmed Al-Rabi' and the entire news team, we thank you for joining us and good night.